Pumpkins have captivated the human imagination and played significant roles in various cultures worldwide. Native American tribes revered them, European settlers embraced them, and global trade spread their influence. From the life giving pumpkin seeds of Mayan legends to the magical carriage in Cinderella, pumpkins symbolize abundance and wonder. Today, they continue to be central to celebrations like Thanksgiving and Halloween. The influence of pumpkins extends beyond cultural representations, inspiring awe and wonder in both culinary and cultural traditions. Hello and welcome to the next episode of Roots Reveal podcast, tracing plants through time with a dose of science. I'm your host Banish aka Beans, and together we'll unravel the stories of plants that have shaped civilizations, ecosystems, and our understanding of the natural world. So, let's kick off our fourth episode and jump right in. Pumpkins, native to North America, have been cultivated by Native American tribes for thousands of years, integrating deeply into their traditional practices and cuisines. The earliest written reports of pumpkins come from the accounts of the first settlers of the Americas, while ancient pumpkin containers found in Mexico date back to 7000 BCE. Certain Native American groups, such as the Navajo, Hopi, and Pueblo, have even established pumpkin clans and hold traditional pumpkin flower dances. Early European settlers in America readily incorporated pumpkins into their diets and tradition. Upon their arrival in America, the Pilgrims and the early European settlers were introduced to pumpkins by the Native Americans. Pumpkins became an essential part of the settlers' diet because of their versatility, long shelf life, and ease of cultivation. The tradition of pumpkin pie can be traced back to these early settlers who created a version by hollowing out a pumpkin, filling it with milk, honey, and spices, and baking it in hot ashes. Today, pumpkin pie remains a beloved dessert served during Thanksgiving. Pumpkin puree is a common ingredient in many Thanksgiving recipes, adding to the holiday's distinct flavors. Pumpkins underwent a considerable transformation in their cultural significance and gained popularity worldwide through European exploration and trade. When the Portuguese arrived in Japan in 1543 and established trade relations, they introduced pumpkins to the country. The Japanese term for pumpkin, kabocha, is derived from Cambodia, as the Portuguese brought the pumpkins to Japan via Cambodia. Kabocha gradually became integrated into Japanese cuisine and is now a staple ingredient in various dishes such as tempura, soups, and stews. Meanwhile, roughly 50 years after Columbus's voyage, European botanical herbals began featuring descriptions and illustrations of pumpkin, indicating that the species had been brought to Europe from America. Over time, these seeds made their way to botanists and local market vendors. Pumpkins also found their place in English gardens, with forms from North America being compared to those already being grown in the UK, both favorably and unfavorably. However, in the 18th century, the British began to lose their fondness for pumpkin pie and started associating pumpkins negatively with Native Americans. They preferred more sophisticated options like apple, pear, and quince pies. Pumpkin has a rich etymological history stemming from its European origins. The word pumpkin originated in Europe, derived from the French word pompion, which comes from the Latin word pepo, meaning to ripen or cook by the sun. Before Europeans encountered American varieties of pumpkins and squashes, pompion connoted to them a large fruit, melon, or gourd. Roman naturalist Pliny the Elder stated, "When the cucumber acquires a very considerable size, it is known to us as the pepo." The ancient Romans played a significant role in establishing the pumpkin's linguistic heritage. They used the pumpkin as a comical motif for politicians, which was consistent throughout their history. When the Roman satirist Seneca wrote an ode to the Emperor Claudius, he humorously referred to him as a pumpkin instead of immortalizing him as a deity. Seneca used the Latin term apocolocyntosis, meaning pumpkinification, in the place of the word apotheosis, which means treating someone like god or deity. This tradition continued to thrive, and the term pumpkinhead remains a powerful insult to politicians. In the tradition of Seneca's pumpkinification of Claudius, the Italian painter Giuseppe Arcimboldo, in his famous vegetable compilation portraits, equated the American field pumpkin with a man's mental capacities or the lack thereof. In his late 16th century paintings titled Autumn and Vertumnus Rudolph II, Arcimboldo paints an assortment of garden produce to form the outline and the features of a man's head and torso. In Autumn, the man has a pumpkin head, and in Vertumnus Rudolph II, a pumpkin heart or chest. The artist's strategic placement of the pumpkins suggests his commentary on his subject's empty brain and empty heart. The portraits confounded and delighted the artist's contemporaries and the later generations of scholars. Interpretations of these vegetable portraits have ranged from allegories of the universe to serious jokes about the Habsburg monarchy. A similar characterization is metaphorically conveyed in Shakespeare's play The Merry Wives of Windsor, written in 1602. Mistress Ford and Mistress Page, the two merry wives, are plotting to humiliate Sir John Falstaff, who has been attempting to seduce them both for financial gain. When Falstaff arrives at Mistress Ford's house, she describes him to her servants in a dismissive way, using the term pumpion. The term pumpion or pumpkin in this context is meant to belittle Falstaff. Pumpkins, being large, round, and somewhat cumbersome, are used here to suggest that Falstaff is overweight, ungainly, and foolish. This reflects the Elizabethan use of food items to convey certain characteristics of flaws in individuals, often employing them humorously and insultingly. Both Arcimboldo and Shakespeare used the pumpkin as a source of amusement. They personified the pumpkin by assigning it human qualities and portrayed it as a foolish, uncultured man. Through their art, they endowed the pumpkin with a deeper significance than just its physical appearance. Pumpkins were depicted in various forms in Renaissance art, literature, and botanical dictionaries. Dutch painters of the 16th century, like Italian fresco artists, used the pumpkin's natural characteristics to depict the abundance of nature. Similarly to Shakespeare and Arcimboldo, they also portrayed the vegetable as a symbol of unsophisticated behavior, albeit in a different manner. Instead of associating the pumpkin with men's head and a lack of intellect or refinement, Dutch artists made it a symbol of peasant women's body, sexuality, and unguarded lust. A recurring theme in the 16th century paintings by the Dutch artists Peter Achen and Joachim Bochla is the portrayal of a plump peasant woman surrounded by a plentiful harvest. These paintings depict an overflowing abundance of cabbages, carrots, turnips, apples, cucumbers, peas, as well as the eye catching field pumpkins, squashes, all spilling out from the giant baskets towards the viewer. Alongside these women and their voluptuous fruits and vegetables, there are also scenes that hint at sexual allure. In many of these paintings, men can be seen lurking in the background, gazing at the female peddlers and their products. These paintings serve as reminders of the sins associated with uncontrolled lust and sexual promiscuity. The choice of depicting rustic peasant women effectively conveys these themes as they were believed to have deeper connection with nature in their countryside surroundings and were less constrained by social conventions than middle class city dwellers. Throughout history, pumpkins have intrigued not only artists but also scientists who have been fascinated by them and their potential medicinal uses. In the 1630s, the English herbalist John Parkinson suggested that the juice of a pumpkin could be used to restrain the immoderate lust of the body based on the doctrine of signatures. This doctrine believed that the physical shape or appearance of plants or animals indicated their purpose, function, and meaning. On the other hand, Native Americans prize pumpkins as not just as nutritious food but as medicine too. They use pumpkins to treat intestinal worms and urinary issues and shared this knowledge with European colonists as well. In traditional Chinese medicine, the raw seeds of pumpkins are used medicinally to kill parasites, benefit pregnant women, prevent prostate disease, and protect the gums. Pumpkins are also seen as symbols of prosperity and good fortune in China and enjoyed during the Chinese New Year celebrations. In Ayurveda, pumpkin is considered to have a cooling effect, which means it can balance the fire and wind energy of the body. Pumpkins are also indigenous crops grown in sub Saharan Africa, with their leaves playing a crucial role in the diets of rural communities valued for their diverse preventive and curative properties. In ancient Mayan culture, pumpkins were symbol of life force and vitality. The Popol Vuh is a book that documents the mythology, history, and traditions of the Mayan people. One of the central stories within this book is the mythology of the hero twins Hunhapu and Xbalanque, who engage in a series of trials and battles against the Zilbalba, the lords of the underworld, and eventually outsmart them using a pumpkin to achieve victory. During a ball game challenge from the lords of the underworld, Hunhapu is decapitated by a huge bat. The lords of Zilbalba then take his head and use it as a ball for the game. Xbalanque temporarily restores his brother's head using a pumpkin. The twins return to the ball court and deceive the lords of Zilbalba by turning a rabbit into the ball. While the lords are distracted by this trick, Xbalanque retrieves his brother's true head and reattaches it to his body. The game ends and the hero twins emerge victorious when Xbalanque strikes the pumpkin ball against the wall of the ball court, causing it to break into pieces and scatter seeds all around. This clever use of the pumpkin not only helps the twins defeat and humiliate the lords of Zilbalba, but also symbolizes the triumph of life over death. The scattering of seeds from the pumpkin signifies vital energy, the soul, or the seeds of life. Have you ever wondered how pumpkins became a symbol of Halloween in America? Before we delve into the origins, it is important to understand that Halloween, the popular holiday, has deep roots in the Celtic festival of Samhain. During Samhain, a festival that signaled the shift from summer to winter, individuals would celebrate the last harvest and the onset of the darker half of the year. In Scotland, it was customary to set an empty chair and leave food for the spirits of ancestors who were believed to visit homes on this particular evening. But how did carved pumpkins become the symbol of Halloween that we know today? The tradition of carving pumpkins is based on an Irish legend about a man named Jack the Miser or Stingy Jack. According to the story, when Stingy Jack died, he was not allowed into heaven, and the devil would not let him into hell. As a result, the devil sent Jack off with a burning coal, which he placed in a carved out turnip, and since then the restless soul of Jack the Lantern has been wandering the earth. To protect themselves from Stingy Jack and other spirits, people of the British Isles started carving faces on fruits and vegetables like turnips, potatoes, radishes, and beets. These carvings would have candles placed inside them, just like the pumpkin candles we see today during Halloween. The idea behind this practice is that by placing these spiritual sculptures outside and carrying them as candles, they can ward off evil and bring light to the darkness around them. When Irish and Scottish settlers brought their Halloween traditions to America, they discovered that North American pumpkins were larger and easier to carve than turnips. Consequently, pumpkins became the preferred choice for jack-o'-lanterns. Pumpkins are harvested in the fall, which coincides with Halloween time. Their bright orange color and large round shape makes them perfect as fall symbols and holiday decorations. The evolution of Halloween from ancient festival of Samhain to the present-day holiday we enjoy incorporates a diverse array of cultural traditions and legends. The incorporation of pumpkin as a prominent symbol of Halloween serves as a prime illustration of how customs transform and adjust to new contexts. So, the next time you carve a jack-o'-lantern, you'll know that you're partaking in a tradition that stretches back centuries, blending ancient rituals with modern festivities. Do you know that there is a dark colonial history behind the pumpkin spice latte? Starbucks has sold more than 600 million pumpkin spice lattes in the US since introducing the drink in 2003, but none of the spices naturally grow in North America. Despite its name, pumpkin spice contains no pumpkin. Instead, it's a blend of nutmeg, cloves, cinnamon, and ginger, a mixture that has been used since ancient times. For instance, in India, these spices have been used to make masala chai for around 5,000 years. Pumpkin spice mix was commercialized in early 20th century America as companies sought ways to make baking easier and more economical for customers, mainly during Thanksgiving and Halloween. But the story of how pumpkin spice became widespread in the Western world is a violent history of colonialism and imperialism. The pursuit of these valuable commodities by European powers resulted in significant economic exploitation, cultural impact, and social upheaval in the regions where these spices were produced. For instance, the Portuguese were the first Europeans to control the trade of cinnamon, nutmeg, and cloves in Ceylon during the 16th century. In the 17th century, the Dutch East India Company monopolized these trades, using force to dominate production and trade routes. This included massacres and forced relocations of natives in the Banda Islands for nutmeg. Additionally, the British developed a fondness for ginger and began cultivating the spice in Jamaica and other Caribbean colonies. Thus, European colonial powers profited immensely from the spice trade, extracting resources and wealth from colonized regions. Thankfully, today there is a growing movement towards fair trade and ethical sourcing of spices, aiming to rectify some of the historical injustices associated with the spice trade. While the Starbucks pumpkin spice latte has made pumpkin spice a seasonal favorite, it also opens a window into the colonial past and the enduring complexities of the global spice trade. Pumpkins have long been a staple in fairy tales and poems across the globe, symbolizing various meanings from harvest and abundance to magic and transformation. In the story of Cinderella, the pumpkin represents magic and transformation. The fairy godmother uses a pumpkin to create magnificent carriage, allowing Cinderella to overcome her challenges and attend the royal ball, ultimately changing her destiny. Another example of portrayal of pumpkin is the character Jack Pumpkinhead from Frank Baum's Oz series. Jack has a body made of wood and a head made from a pumpkin brought to life using the magical powder of life. Jack plays a crucial role in helping Tip overthrow the Scarecrow and establish Princess Ozma as the rightful ruler of Oz. The journey of pumpkin from a seed in the ground to a delicious pie is depicted in the early 20th century poem Story of Pumpkin Pie by William E. Barton. It aims to connect readers with the cycle of nature and the agricultural process, celebrating the simplicity and satisfaction of growing one's food and turning it into a homemade treat. The poem's moral can be interpreted as an appreciation for the effort and patience required in farming and cooking, as well as the joy of sharing food with others.
Ah, Peter, Peter, pumpkin eater, had a wife but couldn't keep her. Put her in a pumpkin shell, and there he kept her very well. If you find your wife's a cheater, don't you dare to try and mistreat her. Put her in a pumpkin shell, and you'll find out it works out swell.
Peter Peter Pumpkin Eater is a popular English nursery rhyme and children's song. The rhyme dates back to at least the early 19th century, with the first printed version appearing in 1825. Like many nursery rhymes, its origins are somewhat obscure and it has been passed down through generations. The rhyme's meaning is interpreted in different ways. Some see it as a simple, nonsensical children's verse, while others suggest it may carry darker connotations about Peter confining his wife to a pumpkin shell as a means of controlling her, thus reflecting societal norms of the past. Others interpret the rhyme as a more playful story where Peter simply found an unusual but effective way of keeping his wife safe and protected. Peter Peter Pumpkin Eater is often used in educational settings to teach rhyme, rhythm, and language to young children. Its simplicity and catchy wording make it a memorable piece of childhood folklore. From ancient harvest festivals to folk tales, Pumpkins have always held a prominent position, carrying a wide range of symbolic meanings that differ from culture to culture. Here are some stories from around the world that symbolize pumpkins as representations of good luck, amusement, abundance, and prosperity. The tales of Nasreddin Hoja, originating from the 13th century, are widely known for their amusing and satirical anecdotes. These stories have gained popularity not only in Muslim folklore but have also been shared in various languages, spanning from China to Hungary and from southern Siberia to North Africa. One noteworthy tale of wit and wonder of Nasruddin Hoja is Walnuts and Pumpkin. In the story, Nasruddin Hoja lay in the shade of an ancient walnut tree. His body was at rest, yet his mind remained active. Gazing up into the majestic tree, he contemplated the greatness and wisdom of God. God is great and God is good, mused Hoja. But was it truly wise to create such a grand tree to bear only tiny walnuts as fruit? Look at the stout trunk and strong branches. They could easily support the pumpkins that grow from the spindly vines in the field over there, vines that struggle to bear the weight of their own fruit. Shouldn't walnuts grow on weak vines and pumpkin on sturdy trees? While lost in thoughts, Hoja dozed off, only to be awakened by a walnut that fell from the tree, striking him on his forehead. God be praised, he exclaimed, seeing what had happened. If the world had been created according to my puny wisdom, it would have been a pumpkin that fell from the tree and hit me on the head. It would have killed me for sure. God is great, God is good, God is wise. And never again did Nasruddin Hoja question the wisdom of God. Here is another amusing folk tale about pumpkins from Serbia. The story goes like this. Many years ago, when pumpkins were unheard of in Serbia, a peasant stumbled upon a pumpkin on a hill not far from his village. He had no idea what he had discovered. Filled with concern, he approached the village judge, seeking to understand what this peculiar object might be. But the judge was just as puzzled. He then approached the village elders, hoping that one of them would be able to identify the mysterious object. They all stood there baffled until one of them stepped forward and said, "It can only be a horse's egg, because you found it where the horses like to graze." The peasants all agreed with this explanation, but now there was a new difficulty. No one knew how to get a horse to sit on the egg to hatch it. Finally, they decided that each house would assign a man to take turns hatching the egg. Because the pumpkin was already turning yellow, they said, "The foal is almost ready to come out." The hatching turn came to an awkward fellow, and he turned this way and that way on the pumpkin, causing it to lose its balance and roll into a gully where a hare was sleeping in the bush. The frightened hare ran away. The peasants pursued him, shouting, "Listen to us, listen to us." But the hare did not listen to them, but instead raced frantically into the wood. The peasants went back to the pumpkin to see how the hare had come out. They found a mass of pumpkin seeds. They then realized that it was not an egg after all, but rather something entirely different. The judge distributed the seeds to the houses in the village with the instructions to plant them. The next summer, they learned more about the mysterious thing, and since then, they have planted pumpkins every year. Pumpkins go beyond their symbolic roles in art, literature, and folklore. They are also packed with scientific value. Ripe pumpkin pulp, seeds, powder, and peel are rich in fiber and contain minerals such as zinc, phosphorus, magnesium, potassium, and selenium, which are needed for functioning of the body. Pumpkin contains certain chemicals or bioactive compounds that may have anti-inflammatory, antibacterial, anti-diabetic, and anti-cancer properties. Research is currently looking into how pumpkin seeds can help with things like diabetes, heart health, cancer, depression, worm infections, and oxidative stress. Pumpkin may also be beneficial for skin care. A Thai study published in 2022 found that polysaccharides present in Japanese pumpkins were great at keeping the skin hydrated. Adding them to skincare products may provide a safe and effective moisturizer for treating skin dryness and signs of aging. To sum it up, pumpkins offer amazing nutritional and medicinal benefits with potential treatments for various health and skincare issues, making them a versatile and invaluable resource. Pumpkins have been symbols of creativity and resilience for centuries, and they have continued to hold significance in our modern traditions. Their journey from Native American fields to Thanksgiving tables and through various fairy tales and folklore shows how we are still connected to nature and tradition. As we carve our jack-o'-lanterns and savor pumpkin spice treats, let's not forget the rich history and many uses of this humble squash. Within each seed and slice, the pumpkin continues to tell a story of abundance, transformation, and timeless charm. Thank you for listening to the Roots Reveal podcast. To support the show, please consider leaving us a review on your favorite podcast platform and sharing our episodes with family, friends, and colleagues. If you have any feedback or suggestions, reach out to me at hello@rootsrevealed.org. Remember to keep exploring your roots and embracing the diversity of our shared human experience. I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.